What's up, Nation? Really appreciate everybody for tuning in. My name is Law Nation, LAW Nation. Hey, I think people get it mixed up. Look, I love the Cowboys. I love the Joneses. I think that they are wonderful owners, horrible GMs. We got to put that out there. Nevertheless, let's listen to the son, Stephen Jones, in his interview with the 105.3, the fan radio. Really appreciate my dog, Jeff Cav, and everybody that's watching. Really appreciate you all for doing that, too.
Those guys here in a few, but I wanted to know from you with three players heading out this week with the trade and a couple of releases, is that the season? Could we see more of that coming up in the days ahead of the deadline?
I don't think so. I think we kind of made the moves that we were pleased with. And, obviously the trade deadline's Tuesday. We got a few things in play. But overall, I think we did what we needed to do in our mind, from Coach McCarthy and Jerry and Will, and felt like we did the right things there to help our team.
Stephen, we're on this show, we're really into the team building part of football. And so how much do you guys go into all the guys in your last year of a contract, for instance, in your secondary? Cheeto, Jordan Lewis, Xavier Woods, and listen to people calling and compare that to comp picks and talk about if we're going to extend these guys? How much of that is going on a daily basis?
There's a lot. I mean, goes into it. Are you going to get compensatories for those players? Do you want to – obviously in a lot of these cases, we still want to see these guys play. I mean, Tito's had a difficult year with injuries, and so that's an interesting one. And then Lewis, same thing. He's been banged up a little. So, all the guys are guys that we still want to see, and, I think might have a future here. We just have to see how things go. And obviously we've had our share of injuries, and we just got to continue to, go to work every day and practice and get better. And there's a lot of football left, so it's real important that we do that. And obviously Everson Griffin's a good player. We ended up getting a pick for him, and that also allows us to, as we move forward, to really see Randy play more. Certainly guys like Dorrance Armstrong and Anai are all guys that playing that role. So we just felt like that was the best thing for us at the time when you considered the cap savings and the young guys that we have there that are ready to get more snaps.
Now, here's the thing. I agree with him on the aspect we had injuries, right? We had injuries with Cheeto Awuzie. Now, with the Woods situation, I can't really put that on injuries unless you're going to talk about mental awareness or something like that. He have some type of mental complex. Then that's a whole nother story there. Now, as far as Everson Griffin, I think that the guy just started to get his playing legs up under him, but the Cowboys organization was looking at it like if we can get anything out of him, because we got a loaded room on that side of the field, meaning that you got a Dorrance Armstrong, you got a Randy Get Down Gregory, you got an Alden Smith. They all play on that right side, and now you're trying to flip Dorrance to the opposite side, which could cause all type of crazy stuff as it relates to snaps, right? So you had a full party over there, and it just didn't work out. So why not get rid of him for something and just letting the guy walk for nothing? It was crazy, right? So I can see that. I can understand that. Now, far as this team using excuses as a collective, come on, you can't do that. You can't do that. Everybody got injuries. Everybody got a bevy of excuses that they can use as it relates to that. Nevertheless, let's continue to listen to what they got to say.
Hey, Stephen, this week it seemed like the players at practice were all excited about DiNucci. They were kind of rallying around him, talking about how well he was slinging the ball around. My question for you is, can you see that being a positive? I mean, how far can you go with that? And tell everybody about how you guys happened to pick him in the 7th round. Where did his name come from, and what you see with him?
Well, I think at the end of the day, you certainly like, his movement. He's a good athlete. He moves well. He's actually got 10-inch hands and get his hands around the ball good, and he can sling it from a lot of angles. Reminds me of, a little Romo-esque that way in terms of how he can release the ball from different angles. Mike had a little background of knowing him from there out of Pittsburgh and some things like that, and a little background with him. But really liked him. And Mike likes a guy with movement, a guy who can move around, and certainly, he does have a lot of gamer to him. I mean, he's been watching him all year with playing on the scout team, and he's really got a lot of things to work with, and you never know till you get guys out there and give them a chance. Obviously, Dak was a 4th-round pick, and he got given an opportunity, and he ran with it. But, this is going to be a great opportunity for DiNucci. It's great we're getting Zach Martin back, which really should help shore up some of the offensive line issues that we have. And, we're fired up about playing this week. The guys had a good week of practice, had good energy, and I feel like they will rally around DiNucci.
So that's a good assessment of DiNucci. There's film out there that I put out there. The guy can really make every throw. And I'm not trying to sit here and say, hey, guys, this guy's the next Joe Montana or he's the quote-unquote Tony Romo reincarnated and these sorts of things and mixed in with Aaron Rodgers. No. I'm not saying that. Now, if you give this kid a little window of time, you'll see some of his athleticism. You'll see some of his talent, and especially that brother, he got a good little sidearm action on him, and he can make every throw. That's just the reality of it. He can actually make every throw, and he got a little heat on it, got a little pepper, and that's why all of the Cowboy fans are saying, hey, maybe this guy can be the answer. But I will tell you guys to pump the brakes just a little bit, Let's see how he perform at big moments and big times against real defenses and things like that, opposed to what he's doing in practice, opposed to what he did over there at JMU. So let's see what he can do when the stage is on and the lights are bright.
Okay, so you bring it up, and I'm curious. I'm going to ask the optimistic question. If DiNucci has a great game and plays really well, how do you guys approach next week if Andy Dalton's cleared?
You're going to give a PC answer,
Well, Andy's our guy, and I feel like he made great progress here at the end of the week, and it'll be his job when he gets back, but it's going to also be great to get to watch DiNucci get an opportunity here in terms of playing against Philadelphia. It doesn't get any bigger than that, a good divisional game.
True.
And let's see what he can go out there and do.
Speaking of that, one more DiNucci question.
DiNucci.
I don't want you to give your hand away, but do you think he'll be running close to what the typical Cowboys offense would run, or you think they're going to dumb it down a little bit because he's a rookie?
Well, we'll have to, to some degree, do some things that help him out and do what he does best. So I do think, we're going to give him, and Mike's great at that. Kellen will be great at that, giving him every opportunity to have success in what he's done and what he does well.
Good question. The Stephen Jones Show here on the Fan. We saw a report with the deadline next week. There's no way you guys will be trading Michael Gallup. Is that right?
Right.
No, Michael's on our team. See him having a bright future here in Dallas, and no interest in trading Michael.
He's a good kid.
Do you guys let the lack of success with the older players you signed in free agency, like McCoy, Poe, Worley, affect how you approach free agency next year?
We've always been conservative when it comes to free agency.
We always been conservative. Yeah. Say it louder for the people that's in the back, man. We know the Cowboys conservative. Let's see what else you got to say with this. That's crazy, though. I had to pause it because we know that the Joneses look, and I don't think for the slightest chance that Jerry Wayne is the conservative one. Let me know in the comment box who's really the conservative one, because we know that Jerry is not conservative. No. So when he threw in he should have just said I'm always conservative. Stephen Jones,
We're big believers in you build through the draft, but you also, you want to fill some holes. That was the reason for signing all those guys, shore up some things so you don't have to necessarily reach in the draft. And, we'll continue to do that. All these guys are not necessarily, catastrophic cap hits if you look at the way their contracts were structured. So, I think, we'll continue to look at free agency the way we always have, which is, you want to shore up your needs before the draft, and you don't want to overextend, certainly with the cap situation in the NFL probably going to be very interesting. With having the COVID year and certainly having to look at what the cap's actually going to be. There's going to, a lot of teams are going to have challenges in terms of working around the cap, but we'll certainly look at what our situation is and, continue to look at it the same way. And, you're not always going to hit on everybody, but really felt like, we'll continue to operate and feel like the way we do it's a good way.
Well, here's my argument to that, just to be argumentative. You guys get what I'm saying, right? Here's the situation. If you've been doing this for 25 years and there's no results to the way that you've been doing it, newsflash, it's time to change it. It's time to change what you're doing. Let me know if I'm wrong. Now, I do know that there's times and situations that you would like to be conservative. I know that there's time and situation that you would like to spend, but you got to figure out a way to balance those type of situations. You can't just continue to shop at the dollar store or the Dollar Tree or Family Dollar or whatever store, thrift store, whatever it may be. You can't continue to buy from the clearance rack. That's all I'm saying. And there's nothing wrong with buying from the clearance rack. I believe that's a good situation. But somehow, one way or another, the Cowboys organization, from a structural head, from the head top all the way down to the bottom, need to just do something different. And I'm not saying that McCoy and Griffin and Worleys of the world, what have you, were 1,000% horrible, because now we're going to look at this thing and say, well, we can't do anything because of what happened to those guys like the Poles of the world. No. You tried it that way, it didn't work, but now it's time for you to up the ante a little bit more. Yes, we was happy when you did at least those moves, and yes, it failed. It ultimately failed, right? There was not a Cowboy fan out here that was saying, hey, this team don't seem aggressive this offseason, right? They seem aggressive, but they seem more aggressive as it relates to the bargain basement deals that they was getting. Let's just move the ante up a little bit. Instead of getting 5 or 6 guys, focus and concentrate on 1 or 2, right? Quality over quantity. Let's listen to more what they got to say.
Do you guys feel like you were able to execute what Mike McCarthy talked about with player over scheme, and do you plan on that sort of being a philosophy moving forward?
It will be. It'll still be important that we get good football players first and foremost, and then work the scheme around. I think there's no question, not having an off season certainly had its challenges with the new staff, in particular when you're trying to put in a new defensive scheme. So, those are all things that a lot of teams had to do. But, we feel good about our staff, where we're headed, and Coach McCarthy, and how we'll move forward in the future. But, we got a lot of football to play right now, and it's real important that we go to work each week and get better.
We heard Jerry this morning talking about how Zach Martin will be back at guard this week, so I would assume Terence Steele will be at right tackle. Does the coaching staff like Steele as a player more than McGovern, or are you just hesitant to move people around?
Well, I just think, there's a little bit of everything that goes into it, and you said it. You start moving a lot of guys around, and, some more challenges. But, I do think there's a lot to like about Steele. He's got great length. He works really hard at it. Football is important to him, and at the same time, McGovern's coming fast. And so, I wouldn't necessarily say we like one more than the other. It's, probably at the end of the day, a little more of, a lot of moving parts you'd like to avoid. So we'll continue to monitor that situation. I thought McGovern improved each time he's gone in and play, and I think that'll continue to happen, as it will with Steve.
Are you guys hearing what I just heard, or are you guys hearing what I'm hearing? He got length. He's a great guy. Look, I didn't know that this was a who's the tallest contest. I didn't know whether or not it's a, who's the better guy contest. My goodness. I think that Stephen Wonder can see that Steele don't belongs out there on the field. Ooh, sir. I don't want to be so mad and upset that I start moving stuff around. But there goes to show you that this guy, knowledge of the game is so diminutive, so small, so minute. You got Terence Steele out there. Who's responsible for a lot of those blitzes that come off the edge, the pressure, quarterback sacks, and also, the fumbles or what have you? It's Steele, I don't know what Steele got on the Joneses, but dog it, I want some of it. I want some of it so that I can circumvent myself somewhere within the organization, because whatever he got on those Joneses, baby, man, I think that he's part of some type of mafia. He's part of some type of, hey, maybe I'm related type of groove. I don't know, but just help me out, Cowboy Nation. Just please help me out. Find me the positives out of Steele. And I know there could be quite possible Steele's apologies out there. Maybe there's a lot of those guys. But if you can show me the great tape and the great athleticisms or the way he uses his length out there as a football player, and this team refuses to go out there and just pick up somebody else, hey, kick Connor McGovern out there to the tackles position. At least do that, right? If they can just figure it out. Because I still think that even though we know about this offensive line, the poorest offensive line as it relates to the interior from Connor Williams, but even though we can point out those things, right? Somebody got to explain to me how this brother still got a job out there in the National Football League. Terence Steele. Look him up. Just help me out. Post me 3 positive things about Terence Steele if you can find them, right?
It's Stephen Jones Show here on The Fan. How much could Sean Lee help with his coach on the field type of skills, tying that defense back together?
Well, anytime you have a player like Sean Lee, who's had a obviously great career, he's got a great understanding of the game. He is, one of the, big-time leaders we've ever had through the doors for the Cowboys organization. So he'll be a huge to have him around more, and I think he can really do a lot to help us there. But even more importantly than that, he's a hell of a football player. So it'll be great to have him back.
Stephen, if you could pick one guy on your roster to have a great rest of the year and show really good progress and growth, who would you pick and why?
Terence Steele, right?
That's a good question. I'd like to think there's a handful of players that will need to grow as he goes. That's a hard one. I just think any of these young players, as they continue to get opportunities, you'll hope they would continue to develop, and whether that's defensive linemen, offensive linemen, obviously huge, big time injury offensive line. It'd be great to see some of these guys who were supposed to be backups this year that are now finding themselves a lot of football to watch them develop. So, it's real hard to single out a particular player at this point. So, the bigger thing is just to have these young guys, as they get opportunities, take advantage of them and show us things so that, we feel comfortable going with players, these young guys in the future, and we don't have to go out and, play the game in free agency where you have to pay more money.
Look here, Jones. You got to play the game in free agency. I can go back to the previous 5 or 6 teams that won the Super Bowl. They played in free agency, by the way. That's the news flash. Not even going to play the rest of the interview. I'm tired of hearing them talk. But I will say this. If that question was based upon one individual, I would say, hey, we need Ezekiel Elliott to play lights out, right, regardless of the offensive line. But if it's based off of one unit, I think that this team will have a stronger chance of winning if only the offensive line unit, collectively speaking, plays up to par. Because I think that the wide receiver unit is okay. Oh, well, it was one of the best in the NFL. It's just that we need to have the quarterback to get the ball out to him. But I think that everything trickles down to the offensive line. I think the tight end play is decent. There's no one to really point fingers at in that type of situation, right? And also, regardless of who the quarterback is, if we had a decent offensive line and you have the better play from the Ezekiel Elliott's of the world and Tony Pollard, and you got the weaponry on the outside, I think that this team can go far. Let me know if I'm wrong. Also, from the defensive side, if it's just one unit that you would like to see better, will be the defensive front four. You know what? After explaining all of this, it goes back to the trenches. If, and I'm saying this, that's the operative word, if the offensive line can play better, and if the defensive front four can play better, I think that it will help out the secondary. It will help out the linebackers. It will help out even the safeties and these sorts of things, because that is where the game is won and lost within the confines of the trenches, right? So, Cowboy Nation, for those who watching, let me flip it back on you all. Which unit or which individual player you would like to see play better or play at its optimum performance or its optimum level? Post me your thoughts, post me your concerns down below. Once again, Stephen Jones and Jerry Wayne Jones, they had 3 or 4 episodes this week along. I'm not even going to go back and listen to Jerry Wayne talk. It's crazy. Now, from a content creator, it's good for us because we got something to talk about. But I would prefer not to talk about this and be left outside trying to figure this thing out. But the Joneses, they spit so much stuff to the media. It's like, man, it's good, but it's bad at the same time. I look at it like purgatory. We're not in hell, nor are we in heaven. It's just like we're stuck in this middle place with the Joneses, right? We love them on one end. We flat out love them. The innovative, the star, the logo, the way they push out the marketing piece and the promotions is crazy good. But we love all of those things. But we despise, hate, can't stand. We can't stand the fact. And I know hate is such a heavy word, but let's be real with it. We don't like them as general managers and as people that try to put their finger in all of the football mess. We don't like that part. We wish that the Joneses can look at it and say, hey, man, we hit the lottery of life. We own the America's team, and we own the team that's globally, financially on top of everything. And we're good at that. But I wish that they can just place mirrors all around their house so they can look at themselves and say, man, we're horrible football guys. It's been 25 years since we've been to a conference game or what have you. Or it's been 25 years since we've been relevant in a sense of winning. We're relevant everywhere else. Newsflash, not everybody lying to kick it. There got to be a situation in a scenario where they got to look at themselves and say, man, we're dropping the ball here. Yes, I hate to bring up Jimmy Johnson. It was not always cookies and cream when Jimmy Johnson first got onto the scene. We understand that. And I hear the notion that a lot of people say, well, it took Jimmy a couple of years. But let's be real with it. Jimmy Johnson had within the confines of his contract that I have control over player personnel, over player signs and agreements and these sorts of things as it relates to contracting. Although Jerry might had the last final say, but at least Jimmy Johnson had some type of control, and I guarantee you my bottom dollar, Stephen Jones was sitting there watching, trying to pick up things and trying to read notes and these sorts of things. Remember, Stephen Jones was the guy that said, hey, we don't need a Deion Sanders. They went to get to almost fisticuffs with each other with him and his son, his daddy, Jerry Jones. I just think that over a course of many of years that Jerry Jones said, you know what, I'm going to start fighting. I'm going to let my son take control, right? I'm going to add the final say, and I got the final word, but I'm going to let my son take the final control. Well, not the final control, but majority of the control. And I just had a final say. But I advise, I take his, advisory to the highest degree. There's so many people that will look at this thing and say, well, Will McClay got his toe in the water as well. Well, newsflash. The person, let me see how much longer. I got a few more minutes. The person that created the chicken nuggets for McDonald's probably wasn't the owner, right? He had a creative idea, a creative design, and said, hey, man, let me create the chicken nugget. But he would never be the owner. He would never make the money, the remuneration for the nation. that the owner would make. Look, there's people right now that's working in their jobs, got all type of advice, all type of ideals, right? I get all type of advice from where I'm at. You know, people saying, hey, you ought to do it this way, you ought to do it that way. But it's still, I'm in control. Look, I'm going to throw this other analogy out. You can have a beautiful house. And if your kids run up the light bill, if your kids telling you, hey, you know, maybe you want to do it this way, maybe you want to do it that way, but when that bill come in, it will not go to the kids. Let that sink in. You as the owner, you as the general manager, you or as the head coach have the final say on most of the things. The person that's owning the house, the person that really in operation of everything, they are the ones, not the person that give the advice. I wish kids would tell me, hey, daddy, you know, make sure you do this when the light bill come in. Make sure you do that when the water bill come in. I'm like, excuse me, who's paying the bills? This is my house, right? It don't work that way, but I can give them advice, right? That's been my time, Cowboy Nation. I really appreciate you all for yours. Don't forget to hit that like button, share this content, let that friend, neighbor, foe know where to go when they want to tune in to Cowboy Sports Talk and Beyond. Let's hope that big band DiNucci, DiNucci can do something out there on the field. I think that he can make every throw. I think that if you can buy him some time, he got a good arm, he got a good vision of the field. He got to stop staring down receivers, though, and he got to step up through his throw. Not saying that the guy can walk on water, but hell, I might not know how to turn water into wine, but I know how to get to the liquor store, right? So somebody need to figure that out, right? They need to figure out how to get this guy going in the right direction. Cowboy Nation, let's go. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Salute. We're out. Peace. Let's go.